1994 saw the release of 3 amazing movies in the same year. Pulp Fiction, The Shawshank Redemption, and Forrest Gump.
Wowie zowie!
All 3 were up for a Best Picture Oscar, and one of them wins it. Did they get it right? This week on the Jock and Nerd podcast, you're getting 3 reviews in one as we discuss and compare the 3 films, what they meant to us, their influence on pop culture and movie making, and we pick our own Best Picture winner. Plus, tons of news on the season 2 of The Mandalorian on Disney+. The new Mutants movie gets yet another release date, and Tom Cruise in space. All that and more in this edition of the Jock and Nerd Weekly for Thursday, May 14th, 2020.
This is Jason Mewes, and for reasons best left between you and your therapist, you're listening to the Jock and Nerd podcast. Snooch to the nooch.
Check 1. All right. This is for all you fans out there. Let's give it up. We're talking, we heard it. We're funny, disturbing. We're talking, we heard it. We're spoiler alert. Oh yeah. We're talking, we heard it. We're funny, disturbing. Oh yeah. We're talking, we heard it. We're spoiler alert.
Hello, listener. What's up? Thanks for tuning in, and welcome to the Jock and Nerd podcast, bringing you comic book and superhero, TV and movie news, reviews, and whatever we choose. Jock and Nerd. My name is Imran.
My name's Anthony.
He's the Jock.
He's the Nerd.
And joining us is the puppet who's on his wallet. It says Bad Mother Felty on it. It's Rug Boy. What's up, Rugs?
Yeah, walking the earth like Kane in Kung Fu.
That's right. Say what again?
Say what again, motherfucker? I double dare you.
Look at the big brains on Rug Boy. Oh, we could do this all day. We better stop.
Yes, absolutely.
Listen.
You guys are showing your bias already.
Maybe a little bit. That's going to come later in the show. Can't wait to get to that part. But before we begin, fellas, I got to address the virtual elephant in the virtual room here, which would be the, let's say, critical response to my feelings of Kingsman, the Secret Service from our review last episode.
Oh, shit.
Wow, I think I touched a nerve in the Jock and Nerd Nation Facebook group. Have you guys been following this?
Really?
I have been following.
Maybe it's because the first time that you had an opinion.
Like
maybe it's because usually you like everything. So it's like when you don't, it makes an impact. Like when I hate everything all the time. So it's just like, oh, here he goes again.
I mean, I got some, passionate reactions from listeners like Lisa Morrison and Roberto Rivera and Chaz Hebert, Anthony, your co-host for Jock Talk.
Yeah.
Our Patreon-only sports show.
I just love that you put on your big boy pants for once and you got de-pantsed again.
The wrong fucking movie. Here, look, in the interest of fairness, I want the listener to have their voice heard. I'm just going to play the very beginning of the latest episode of Jock Talk that was published this week to use Chaz as kind of the proxy for the listeners. What do you say?
Sure, go for it. And we are back with another Jock Talk. Chaz Hebert is here. First, before we get into Jock stuff, I just want to really quickly bash Imran. How about that? Imran decides to finally take a stand and dislike something, and he just picks a movie that's just universally loved and no one can really hate.
Yeah, I love that movie so much. And Imran, I thought, he said that he didn't like it that much, but I didn't think he was going to go that hard on it.
And he went really hard. It felt like... To me, it felt like a little kid, or like just someone that's been told all their life, like you're just too nice, you're too nice, and then he just bursts at the wrong moment.
Yeah, he's like, you know what, I am too nice, and then just beats somebody up for no reason.
Beats up someone. Yeah, exactly. Beats up some little kid.
That's exactly what it was like.
So you know what?
I feel like you were leading the witness there, Anthony.
Oh yeah.
That statement there is pretty much kind of what happened. I would agree. I think he nailed it pretty well. I just found the weakest, geekiest movie and took out my anger. I'm not changing my opinion on Kingsman. I still stand by my words.
You got to dig your heels in him, Ron.
At some point, I got to draw a line.
Sack up.
What are you going to do? I'm not changing it. But I'm glad. Look, I'm just happy I got a reaction. It's much better. A negative reaction is better than no reaction as far as I'm concerned. So,
well, also in that episode, Lisa Morrison pointed it out, and I pointed it out live, that you didn't consider women people either.
That was incorrect. If you go listen, it was a slip up and we made fun of the fact. And there was a bunch of
Lame.
just fucked up things going on. It's a fun listen. If you haven't listened, listener, check it out. Last episode. Anyways, let's get to
I enjoyed it.
the geek news, you bastards.
The Jock and Nerd Podcast.
Women are superhuman, which is better than people. That's all.
Okay.
That's all I'm going to say. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Sure.
Anyways, moving into the news, got a lot of updates on Mandalorian season 2 on the Disney Plus. Some exciting things coming out, like Boba Fett did not die in Return of the Jedi. Rugs.
Oh, shit.
Tell me more, Imran.
Tamura Morrison has been cast as Boba Fett for season 2.
Oh, any relation to the other Morrisons that watch our show?
They may be distant relations to the Canadian Morrisons. I don't know.
Tamura Morrison was
Django.
was he?
Well, so Tamura Morrison played Jango Fett, which is Boba Fett's father in Attack of the Clones. Is that right?
Yeah, he's like everybody looks like him.
And so they're all clones of him. So he also was Arthur Curry's father in Aquaman, which is probably what you were thinking of, Anthony.
No, I was thinking of who he was in Green Lantern.
Oh, he was in Green Lantern too.
He was the purple guy that gives the ring to Hal Jordan.
Oh, he was Abin Sur?
Abin Sur, yeah.
Oh, he's got a lot of comic book geek credit. But I thought that at the end of Return of the Jedi, Boba Fett falls into the Sarlacc pit and gets eaten.
Really, Imran?
Clearly, he didn't.
Darth Maul is alive.
Yes, Darth Maul was killed by Anakin.
He was sliced in
by
half.
Obi-Wan.
He has no dick.
And he has no dick. He's got robot legs.
He's a dickless. He's a dickless Darth.
But I'm glad they're.
He's Darth Dickless.
Darth Dickless is the darkest Darth around.
Well, yeah,
he's gonna take over.
Badass.
I'm glad.
That probably makes him even more angry. He's got
Say
no
that
dick.
5 times
Yes.
fast.
He's got. I'm just glad Boba Fett is going to
So
be.
I wonder if Boba Fett has his dick. Everything should be okay.
Yes.
See, look, I figured out how to put a dick joke in the beginning of the show.
There you go. I'm glad Boba Fett will be in the show because, it's a great show about Mandalorians. You got to have Boba Fett. Also joining Battlestar Galactica's Katie Sackhoff as Bo-Katan.
That's a good cast.
She is also from Clone Wars, and she looks just like the character from Clone Wars already. I believe she voices her in Clone Wars.
Does she?
I think so. Somebody look that up. I could be wrong.
I don't know.
I think they're using the actual Katie Sackhoff who's voicing Bo-Katan. So that's exciting because we already knew Ahsoka Tano is going to be in season 2, played by Rosario Dawson. That's a great cast. She looks just like Ahsoka Tano. You also have Michael Biehn in this one. Everyone's favorite Kyle Reese. And then Anthony, rumor has it, WWE wrestler Sasha Banks could be in.
Why do you say me like as if I watch pro wrestling all the time?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know who Sasha Banks is.
Look,
but I looked her up,
Yeah.
and she is very hot.
Is this like a precedent where they're just adding all these female pro wrestlers? Well,
She's
Gina,
hot,
yeah.
and she's Snoop Dogg's niece, I believe.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she's real hot.
She's a Snoopette.
Sasha Banks.
Gina Carano was not. She wasn't in the WWE, right? She was a
MMA fighter.
So yeah, they're just adding MMA fighters and wrestlers.
That's a good Sabine, I guess.
And then directors. This is exciting. Joining the season 2, Robert Rodriguez, who
That works.
recently did Alita Battle Angel, and Peyton Reed, who did the Ant-Man movies, will be directing episodes in the next season. And it will be coming out October 2020. They have said there has been no delay in production.
By the way, I watched that Mandalorian documentary thing.
Yeah, what did you think of that?
Not the whole thing.
Yeah.
I just watched the first episode.
Yeah, there's 2 episodes out.
The funniest thing to me
Yeah.
is David Filoni's voice, because his voice doesn't match his the way he looks.
No, it doesn't.
He has this little voice. It's funny.
In the second episode, he goes on this long speech about how much Star Wars means to him, and he breaks down. He is such a huge Star Wars fan.
I believe it.
He
I believe
knows everything. It's not.
Baloney.
He knows Filoni knows baloney. No, he knows everything. That series isn't bad on Disney Plus. There's 2 episodes. It's not bad. And then last thing, turns out Taika Waititi decides to roll the dice on his career, and he will direct a Star Wars movie.
Oh, shit.
Wow.
Officially confirmed by Lucasfilm.
Is he going to get to do what he wants to do?
I
Because
think so.
I hope not.
you don't want him to do what he wants to do. with
Well,
Star
I
Wars.
just think that even watching this thing on the Mandalorian documentary, they had to rein him in because he wanted to go some crazy directions, And then Favreau had to be like, no, and Filoni had to be like, no, we can't. We got to keep you in this little pocket.
So, Ruggs, that being said, and now that the Skywalker saga's over, he doesn't got to worry about all this fucking bullshit. What advice would you have for Taika Waititi going into his own Star Wars movie?
I would say that try and, I don't know, don't try and reinvent it. Try and improve it. That's all.
Anthony, you think like a Thor Ragnarok version of Star Wars is going to play well with the Star Wars fans? This could be career suicide. It's hard to please all of them. We know this.
I mean, there could be a pocket universe that has it. I don't really know. I don't really care about Star Wars. I think putting Taika in a situation where he might be boxed in is probably not the best use of his talent, but we'll see if they're what they have planned.
I agree with that.
At least with Thor, Marvel kind of like let him do what he wanted, other than like, hey, just set up the end so that it ties into Infinity War, please.
Yeah, with Star Wars, you kind of have to follow.
Nothing they had with Thor was working, right?
Right, so they just redid the whole fucking thing.
Yeah, so they just like let him, just repackage this.
But, there's not much to constrain him now that the Skywalker thing is over. There's so much to explore. It's just still got to feel like Star Wars, so you can't have people having slapstick balls bounce off their head. We
just watched the Clone Wars ending that was done by Filoni.
Yes.
And I think Favreau was involved in that.
Yeah, he may have been.
And that was fucking epic.
Yeah.
And it felt like felt serious and it felt like it had emotion behind it.
Mm-hmm.
And I missed that in a way, but let's see what happens.
Listener, let us know what you think about Taika directing a Star Wars movie. Join our Facebook group. It's called Jock and Nerd Nation. It's exclusive. It's closed just for you. We're all in there. You'll find lots of interesting posts. Moving on, this movie gives me a headache, which is the New Mutants, because
what are they doing?
They have given it yet a fourth new release date.
Like a theater release?
Yes.
In the movies?
Yes.
They don't exist anymore?
Exactly. It will now hit theaters this August 28, 2020, if the movie theaters have opened up.
When Amazon buys the movie theaters.
Yeah, there was that rumor Amazon might buy AMC, but somebody's going to buy something. But listen, this is from THR. It says The New Mutants was filmed in 2017.
Jesus Christ.
Yes, originally set to open April 13th, 2018, then got pushed back to February 2019, and then moved to August 2019, with insiders suggesting reshoots would happen. They're saying reshoots never happened. The movie we're getting remains largely what test audiences saw 3 years ago.
Oh, shit.
But with finished visual effects, we saw there was a new trailer in January. It was supposed to come out April of this year, 2020. And because of coronavirus, it did not come out and will be out August of 2020, maybe.
I have to jump in and just say I forget who said it in the Facebook group, so I'm sorry to that person.
Yes.
But it made me laugh.
Yes.
They're like, by the time this movie comes out, Maisie Williams will be looking like Betty White.
That was John Campbell, and that was a great line, John Campbell. That was the line of the group. At this point, I've gone from
Geek Boner
Floppy Jock
to Floppy Jock on this fucking movie. Because just in the meantime, it slipped out. Amazon had put up a pre-order for like a day. It was looking like this thing was going to come out VOD. You could see the screenshots. You could pre-order the movie for $26. I don't know. Trolls.
$26? So you're going to charge double what an expensive movie theater would charge?
Trolls went for $20, and they made $100 million in 3 weeks. 20. I don't know why you go 26. That's a lot. I probably still would have fucking paid if this is the only way it was coming out.
I guess, people are desperate for content. But
well,
$26.
If I would have seen it on Dolby, it would have been $20. So
look, if two people, you pay $26 and you and a buddy watch it, that's there you go. $13 a piece. It's kind of
you could argue Dolby is a little bit better quality than your fucking.
I would have loved.
home.
Yes, I would have loved to seen the Dolby.
Well,
with
if
the
I
sound.
put the phone right up to my face.
Don't watch it on your phone, Rox.
Oh, shit.
That's not how the filmmaker.
I remember listening to Eddie Bravo on Joe Rogan, and he goes, if you put the phone like right up to your face, it's like watching in IMAX. And Joe Rogan's like, no, Eddie, it's not. It's not.
It is, Joe. Google it. And that's his response.
Look into it.
Yeah, look into it. The Earth is not round. Google it. So I don't know what the fuck New Mutants. I'm kind of still dying to see this, but yeah, this was
Really?
shot.
You're dying to see this.
After all this 3 years of hype and anticipation.
Is it hype?
Was it hype?
I don't think it's 3 years of hype. I think it's 3 years of, oh my God, what are we doing with this?
Yeah,
thing?
it's just, you should have fucking put it out already. It's infamous.
It's just a movie.
It's just a movie.
It's a movie.
And it's gonna mean nothing with the X-Men moving forward. Yeah. So what a fucking weird, lame duck. And let's see if it comes out. Probably not.
You blew it. You lost your chance. Yeah. You fucked around too much. You got caught up in a fucking, getting absorbed by Disney.
Yeah.
All this shit happened. It's a wash. Just put it out on VOD.
Fuck that show.
Yes. Just cut your
What was
losses.
it called? A merger. That's the word I couldn't figure out for some reason.
It's a buyout.
Yeah.
It's a merger buyout.
What?
Merger buyout.
Those are two different things, Imran.
Really? So what was the Disney Fox deal? Is that a merger or a buyout?
I think
it was a buyout.
I think it was an acquisition.
That's a third thing.
A buyout would be like.
That's not a buyout. I'm buying your company.
No, they were, not really. I can't really explain it right now.
Like you're buying, controlling, whatever.
Yeah. Like the company's going out of business and you bought them out.
Whatever. Point is, Fox doesn't exist. Disney owns it. Whatever you want to call that.
A merger would be like it'd become Disney Fox.
Oh, yes. So Ruggs was wrong initially. Just pointing that out.
That makes sense.
I'm just going to choose to blame you, Imran.
That's fine. Everyone blame me. I hate Kingsman. Fuck off. What do you want?
You hate good movies.
I hate... Listen, what? Just not for me. Sorry. Also, coming out later this month, HBO Max, May 27th. The big streaming dick about to drop from Warner Brothers HBO.
Big streaming dick.
Yeah, they're going to drop their big streaming unzip thud. So they've released their second wave of shows that are going to be starting in June. And on that, Doom Patrol Season 2 has a date. It's going to premiere June 25th.
Geek Boner.
Doom Patrol, the best thing to come out of DC Universe streaming app.
Did we order this yet or what?
I have not. Can you pre-order it? I will pre-order it later, as soon as we're done. But I've been reading articles about the guys at Warner Brothers talking about the DC Universe, and apparently nobody knows what the fuck they're going to do with it. They are not sure. They're confused what it means for DC Universe. They feel like a lot of its content doesn't have an exclusive feel. So
they don't even have everything you should have on a DC Universe app.
Yeah.
Well,
I can't find movies that have been out for years on there.
Yeah, a lot of those are going to be on the HBO Max.
Like, what is that? They don't own those? Like, I want to watch some comic book movies that they did, some animations that they did. Animations!
Like what? Like which?
Like, they don't have every single DC animation on there.
Yeah.
Animated movie. There's tons missing.
It says in here they want to keep it around, but they want to keep it small. It may still be around for a year or two, but it is confusing. I'll tell you what.
It sucks, DC, and you should be ashamed of yourselves. Fuck you.
They should be.
Fuck that show.
Fuck that app.
So here's the other thing that's happening. Swamp Thing that was on DC Universe is going to air on CW, basically because CW has run out of shit to broadcast. There will be all the Arrowverse shows kind of had their impromptu season finales this week, next week. No new Arrowverse shows until January of next year.
Oh shit.
Because the production had halted and they can't get back to it. So if you haven't seen Swamp Thing, it'll be on CW. But Anthony, here's what's still on the DC Universe app. They're up to 23,000 digital comics.
Yay.
Yay? DC Stargirl will debut on May 18th. The Harley Quinn show is running currently. And
that's your favorite show of all time.
That's like the second best thing after Doom Patrol on this app. Then I said Doom Patrol Season 2, June 25th. Superman Red Sun will be out June 17th. And the new animated movie, Justice League Dark Apocalypse, which I heard is really good, that's not on there yet. So that'll probably be on there later this year.
We still have the app.
We still have it.
It's
and
paid
I wanted to go watch Wonder Woman, that first movie with that came out like maybe 4 or 5 years ago.
The animated one from like 2011 or something,
it's not
right?
there.
It's not there?
Nope.
What are you doing, DC?
That's rough.
What are you doing?
I never understood what
I went to watch Batman, the 60s Batman.
Yeah.
It's not on there.
What?
That's tough.
That was on there.
That would be a huge thing for a lot of old school fans.
That's a big fuck up right there.
I thought that
like
was
there's
on
so
there.
many things that they should have that they don't have on there.
I mean, I think they're probably they're going to move a lot of it off.
No, they're just fucking
HBO Max.
They're being stingy with that shit.
Yeah.
And that's what they're doing. It's like they have nothing to put on there, so they're just withholding stuff.
Yeah.
To make it, and then they'll give it to you later. Like, it's so stupid. It's like, that's like if Netflix took away Stranger Things.
They might,
like,
at some point, years down the line.
But not when the first year it comes out.
No.
Give me a fucking break. Let me at least like the app and recommend it to people instead of me going, this is a fucking piece of shit.
You know what?
Every time.
That was also kind of the problem of Quibi. Anthony, I don't know if you jump back into that. I think
I have not looked at Quibi since we first talked about it.
I think that experiment is kind of coming out as a failure now.
Really?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I would never have guessed that.
Yeah.
What's making you say that, though?
Because
have you seen stuff?
Because I don't have it.
Collider had an article talking about, how COVID-19 outbreak wasn't the reason Quibi didn't get to where it was. And it was
what's where it was? Like, you mean their goals?
Or getting it bigger. The fact that people's routines changed wasn't a factor on this phone only thing. They cite, and I think this is a big problem, is there's no buzz about Quibi because you can't share like clips from the show. You can't take a little 30-second.
Yeah, that's a big thing with phones and social media. Is like, that is a good point, because I never thought of that, because when I'm on YouTube and I watch something that I really like, I just share it with someone. Yeah.
That's how you get awareness. That's how you get eyeballs on it. How are you supposed to get eyeballs when it's locked in?
Hey, go pay for this.
Yeah, go.
On your phone.
Yes, and then check it out.
Trust me, you'll love it.
Yeah.
There's this hot girl I swiped right on. Go pay for her. Tinder Plus.
But if you can't get your fan base, here's another great story real quick. There was this podcast by some couple big guys. They called it the QuibiCast, and they were excited about this platform. They started it before it came out. The platform comes out. They're hyping up the shows. They're free advertising, right? Quibi sends them a fucking cease and desist letter.
Oh, shit.
Saying you can't use your name. You can't use any images. They're like, fuck you, Quibi. We're trying to help you. They changed the name of their podcast to Streamverse. On the first episode, they get Jeffrey Katzenberger on, CEO of Quibi, and he basically apologizes and said, we should never have sent that letter. Sorry that, for
you done fucked it
but
up,
they
Quibi.
got so much publicity that I'm sure they picked up a lot of fucking subscribers. We should have pulled a stunt like that. God damn it. That's how you get people listening. But you got to be able to share stuff with people to turn them on. How else are they going to know what the fuck's going on? All right. Sticking with DC news. Here's some news regarding one of my favorite DC titles ever. That's Neil Gaiman's Sandman.
And tonight.
Not that Sandman or Mr. Sandman. Send me a dream. No, while they're working on the Netflix show, Audible is working on a drama that's going to adapt the first 3 trade paperbacks of Sandman. Here is the fucking talent. You have Riz Ahmed as the Corinthian, Kat Dennings as Death, Taron Egerton playing John Constantine, Neil Gaiman will be the narrator, James McAvoy as Morpheus. Sandman. Fucking McAvoy as Morpheus.
Well, Taron Egerton's going to be in this, and you hate Kingsman, so this is already a flop.
But I don't have to see his face, so...
The only thing I don't like is Kat Dennings' Death.
Kat Dennings is going to play like a mall chick, Death. That's kind of like Death. A little bit. Samantha Morton is in it. Baby Newirth. Andy Serkis as Matthew the Raven. And Michael Sheen as Lucifer. It's an amazing cast, and I can't wait to see what kind of production that to trap you. And if Sandman works in an Audible format, because it's very visual, it's very trippy. What do you think, Ruggs? Would this be something you would listen to?
No.
No? Fuck off then. I will listen to it.
I mean, I could barely read Sandman. So, I mean, I like Sandman. What I've read, but I read it so long ago. I don't have the idea to go and read it again. So
I think this would be a good thing to get people into Sandman. Anthony, what are your thoughts on audio dramas? Have you ever listened to any? I
really don't have much of an opinion because I've never really listened to them.
Like you never bought a book off Audible and I don't
have a lot of interest in it, but
yeah.
I didn't have a lot of interest in watching any of the movies I've watched maybe a year ago. So who knows? Maybe I'll become an Audible book guy.
I used to do audiobooks a lot back in the day, but not as much anymore. Ever since podcasts came out and shit like that, I don't know.
I mean, you can learn a lot with both audiobooks and
satellite radio.
Yes.
That really, they have a lot of content on
that
there.
Wolverine podcast on Stitcher though is some amazing sound design and acting, and that's very good. But I will check out.
I mean, it sounds awesome.
Yeah, Sandman is awesome. And then last thing, Tom Cruise is officially going to go to space to shoot a fucking movie.
Oh shit.
In conjunction with NASA and Elon Musk and
Is he going to fly the spaceship?
X. He may do a spacewalk. Here's my question.
Like he's going to be like, can you let me fly it?
Anthony, is this finally how Tom Cruise dies making a movie?
Oh shit.
What do you think?
Going to space?
He's done everything else.
On the space
No, man,
station.
Zeno's waiting for him up there.
Zenu is up there.
He's like,
He will save
I'd be
him.
If
He's
he's
stayed
gonna,
in level 5.
if he's gonna go, this is the way to go out. Filming a movie on the space station.
He's level 5 Scientologist. That's pretty high, Rux.
Well, I don't even know if that's a.
I don't know if
that
that's
is the
a
level.
thing
I think
either.
it's probably a higher level. I don't even.
But-
I'm just pulling shit out of my asshole.
I mean, you're right. This is a good way to go. And I mean, the man has done everything. He's learned everything for every movie. This is like the last thing. I'm sure he's sitting around thinking, I got to go to space. It's the only thing I haven't done. It will not be a Mission Impossible movie, so I don't know what this fucking movie will be.
Mission Impossible in space.
Good for him. It could be the last movie Tom Cruise ever makes. We'll see. Anthony,
Yes.
will you tell our awesome listener about this episode's sponsor for this episode?
Oh, well, I gladly will. Support for Jock and Nerd is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-belt grooming. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels.
Ooh.
I don't know. Imran, have you taken advantage of the Manscaped stuff?
I have, they've sent us great products. They sent us the Lawnmower 3.0.
I was just going to talk about the 3.0. It's new and improved.
And we have our own promo code, which is my favorite part of this.
Yeah, we got a promo code. So if you go to manscaped.com, you get 20% off and free shipping with the code Jock and Nerd. That's Jock, A-N-D, and Nerd. And you can buy that 3.0, which has been handcrafted for 18 months to perfect the greatest ball hair trimmer ever. And it's the third generation, 3.0, that's what that would mean, featuring a ceramic cutting edge, and that's all it has. But it has it will trim your fucking balls.
What does that mean for you? It means that the blade doesn't get hot and burn your nutsack.
Right, it remains cool.
All I know is it feels good on my nuts, and it looks even better when it's done. So,
and it won't nick.
There you go.
It won't nick your nuts.
Yeah. Also has an LED light, so if you want to trim in the dark, I don't know why you'd want to do that, but if you want to do it,
the light is very helpful on this Lawnmower 3.0. I'll tell you, one of our
there's one more feature.
Yes.
It's 7,000 RPM, which is basically like a real lawnmower on your nuts.
Oh shit.
I think that's the same.
Really? It probably is. That's a lawnmower.
I have no idea. I don't know what RPMs mean, so I guess 7,000 seems like a lot.
What
But
kind of a jock are you? You don't know revolutions per minute on a motor?
do you
Fix a
have something
car?
you want to say, or I can finish this one up?
Go ahead.
Well, get 20% off, free shipping with the code jockandnerd at manscaped.com. Your balls will thank you, even though you probably, if you're single right now, you probably have no one to show off those nice trimmed balls to. But if you have a wife or a girlfriend, then show off those Lex Luthor balls with Manscaped.
Make the great gift for yourself or your man if you got a man.
And one more thing. Help us look good to Manscaped through this 1 month trial run, because if you don't, well, I'm not going to talk about this stuff anymore.
We want to extend the sponsorship, and I'll tell you someone who is helping us is a listener and Patreon supporter, Jose Ibarra.
Talking nerd.
He just left a comment on our Patreon page saying, "My balls, thank you for the Manscaped discount code. I finally pulled the trigger on the Lawnmower 3.0 perfect package. Game changer. I'll be thinking of you guys every time I look down and no longer see a ball fro. That's not weird, right?"
Talking nerd.
So when he doesn't shave, he's got like an afro going. See, mine is more like a dirty swamp.
Like a mullet. Kind of like like a weird.
Not like a mullet, like the
Wavy.
that grass, that marsh that hangs out in the swamps.
Yes.
That's how I feel like my
Swamp
nut
Thing.
hair looks.
Yours
Yeah.
looks like Swamp Thing's pubic hair.
Yeah, it does. It kind of
Yeah.
looks like his face.
Yeah, like
One of my nuts, if you drew like two eyes on it would look like his face.
Jesus.
Did you draw his balls, Imran? I want to.
I'll be working on that T-shirt for our shop right now, listener. Jose, thank you so much for using the code, and it's not weird. I like to imagine when he looks down now, he sees our cartoon heads just floating above his junk.
That'd be awesome.
You know, that's great.
You should draw a little, besides my balls, you should also draw our two faces as balls with the Manscaped
As
3.0.
the dick?
Right.
Oh, boy.
Or as like shaving them.
Oh, yes. That'll
And
be
like
fun.
part of your hair is coming off.
I don't know if this is like a promotional image or a new piece of merch. We'll figure it out. Check it out. Manscaped.com. Use the promo code. Let's take a break here, play some promos, and we'll be back to discuss an amazing year in movies right after this.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Jen.
I'm Brian.
And I'm Henno. We're three friends that talk about mental health, wellness, and our lives.
Through articles and tips, we share what has worked for us on our paths overcoming depression, anxiety, bipolar disorder, alcoholism, and addiction.
Come join us on our journey. You can find us anywhere you listen to your podcast. Just search for The Crazy Life. Remember, wiggle your toes and just keep breathing.
We'll get you back to your regularly scheduled podcast in just a minute. But we wanted to introduce ourselves. I'm Jason.
I'm Jeff. And I'm Blake on this highly produced advertisement.
That's right. It's the History of Bad Ideas, a.k.a. Hobie. You can find us on Twitter at Bad Ideas Podcast and on Facebook at the History of Bad Ideas. But if you like a podcast roundtable with 3 to 5 guests, usually every week, depending on sick leave, talking about all things geek, including movies, TV.
I ain't getting paid for this shit.
Blake bitching about something and ranting, and comic books and anything else that we can think of. We have a top 5 list every week, along with a box office news, and somehow we have listeners, so they send us some feedback we answer every week. You can find us on iTunes,
Stitcher, Facebook,
Spotify,
and any good podcast app, because if you can't find us on that podcast app, it's not a good podcast app.
Damn straight. Roger says goodbye.
Goodbye.
And listener, if you've been enjoying the show and want to give back, put back into the tip jar for all the entertainment value you're getting, join our fan club. Visit jockandnerd.com/Patreon. Right, Anthony? There's value here.
Oh, yeah. As low as $1 a month, you get a ton of bonus content, such as early access to our shows, the Jock and Nerd, the spin-off show, if I ever decide to do that again, post shows, instant reactions, Corona binge reports with all the stuff we're watching.
Yeah.
Jock Talks.
There, and if you give us $10 or more a month, you can pick any movie to force us to watch and review. And we've done a bunch of those, and we have a bunch more coming in the future. Anthony, what'd you watch this week for the Corona binge reports on the Patreons?
So, recording this on Thursday. When this comes out Sunday, I'll have watched maybe more.
Oh,
but
shit, it's
at this
Thursday?
point,
fuck.
Yeah. I've watched some hitters this week.
Yeah.
There Will Be Blood,
Cool.
Misery. Misery's free, by the way, so you get a little taste of what we're talking about.
Yep.
The King's Speech, The Artist, a goddamn silent film.
In black and white, too.
I love that movie.
Yeah, black and white. Lincoln, and I recently, as of today, watched Mad Max Fury Road.
Oh, shit. Yeah, that's a good lineup. You're making your way through the Oscar winners of the 2010s, kind of?
I've completed them.
Wow.
I've done all the Oscar winners of 2010s.
Wow. Yeah, check all those out.
And early preview, my favorite out of all those movies was There Will Be Blood.
It's a good one.
I drink your milkshake.
I drink your milkshake.
I'm surprised you got through The King's Speech and The Artist, personally.
Oh, those were two interesting movies for me to
I was
watch.
like, oh, boy.
I enjoyed both of those movies for what they were.
And like Anthony said, new Jock Talk Sports is back. You guys, you and Chaz,
Their bottom is very weak.
talking about UFC. Actually, the only sport happening right now to an empty crowd.
Yeah.
That's pretty,
Completely empty arena.
that's pretty interesting. Check it out all at jockandnerd.com/Patreon. Anthony, 1994 was an amazing year for movies.
Were you born yet?
I was 6 years old.
Shit. Fuck off. The 90s in general was great, but 94 had some heavy hitters. why don't you tell us your idea for this segment here?
Well, if you're looking at the title of the show, you might already know.
Oh, you saw it.
But if you aren't, and you decided you just stumbled upon the Jock and Nerd and think we're going to talk about when baseball is coming back, we're not talking about that. We are talking about movies. And in this one, we're kind of following the theme of what I've personally been doing, which is watching a lot of Oscar movies. And I looked back at the Oscar nominees and all that from all the past years, because now I'm a changed man. I'm a cinephile. I only like
You're an expert.
Oscar movies.
Yeah,
yes,
you're
I am now an
snob.
expert.
You
I
are
know
a film snob.
Yeah, I could direct a better movie than anyone at this point. 1994. 3 of the greatest movies ever came out.
Yeah.
In fact, these are 3 movies that are currently in the top 10 for IMDb's top-rated English movies ever rated by the fans.
Wow.
One is number 1, one is number 7, and one is number 10.
Yeah.
And these all came in at the same year in 1994. Those movies being Shawshank Redemption, Pulp Fiction, and Forrest Gump. There were 2 other movies that were nominated also that year because they had to get to 5. So Quiz Show and 4 Weddings and a Funeral. But we're going to talk about those 3 that I named first. Forrest Gump being the winner. And I thought at this time, now that I'm a cinephile, Ruggs hates everything, Imran loves everything, we could talk about these 3 movies and actually debate. First talk about how great each of the 3 are, and then have our own little mini debate or just our own personal rankings on how these 3 ranked.
Let me give you a spoiler alert, because if you haven't seen these, I can't believe you haven't. But there will be spoilers. We're going to talk about it.
Strap yourselves in, you fucks. Spoiler time.
The 5 Best Picture nominees are crazy. I don't know how 4 Weddings and a Funeral ended up there. That one is...
How old were you in 1994, Imran?
I was...
72.
I think I was 18.
Okay.
I was a young, fresh pup of 18.
Yeah.
I'm curious when we get into this, like what your mindset at the time was, because I think it's interesting looking at how you guys felt about them at the time, and then maybe how you feel about them later.
Well, it's like one of the things that 1994 was a year. I think I was a year older than Imran.
Yeah. Yep.
And I'm very thankful that I was in the mindset already to be I was cinephile rug boy then.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was able to enjoy these movies when they came out and not like kind of pass them up. So I was very thankful that I was surrounded by people who were into movies and kind of pointed me in this direction.
Yeah, same with me. When I was 18, I was in college, and I just started watching a lot of movies, and I hung out with all the movie majors, the film majors, and I probably should have fucking went to school to be a film major, because that's kind of what I wanted to do, because I kept hanging out with them. But I would get introduced to crazy movies and just watched everything. So this was part of that was the peak education of movies, being 18 and watching these movies.
Let me run real quick.
Yeah.
Because I was only 6 years old and I'm now an expert on these movies.
Yes, you're the expert.
I have the best memory of these movies. Can I just do a quick setup for all 3 and then we can talk about them in order?
Go for it. Yeah, absolutely.
So Forrest Gump is basically the movie that I would say is the most Oscar baity.
Definitely.
And also like has one of the more iconic characters ever.
Yeah.
Right? Forrest Gump.
Yep.
It's the one with the biggest budget, I believe.
Yep.
And it's the one that I think pulls at your heartstrings the most. Then you got Pulp Fiction, which is the one with like where the indie movie directors are starting to like really put their foot down. And it's the one that kind of like changes the game in terms of how it's edited, the story sequence, the dialogue, the way it's just the way it's all crafted together. It's just with this young up and coming director.
A low budget.
It's low budget, but it's like what all the cool kids like, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like Pulp Fiction is cool. Forrest Gump is like mainstream.
Yep.
And then you have Shawshank Redemption, which was like considered the disappointment at the time in terms of box office.
Yeah.
But is like, I would consider maybe the most rewatchable in terms of like, it's always on TV.
Mm.
And every time it's on TV, someone's, you end up just watching it. So those are the 3, and they're all different types of movies, right? One's a prison movie, one's a coming of age through history movie, and then Pulp Fiction is just this crime fucking thriller with like crazy dialogue.
Yeah, no, good setup. Let's start in reverse order there. Let's start with Shawshank.
We're starting in reverse. Okay.
It was a box office dud. It cost.
Well, let's see. Let's just.
Yeah.
Did you see any of these in the theater?
Oh yeah, you guys should talk about your time seeing this.
Forrest Gump, I believe I saw in the theater. Pulp Fiction, I damn sure saw in the theater. That was a fucking event movie of the time. And Shawshank, like we were just talking about box office dud, but had huge video.
I think I saw that on video.
Yeah, huge video rentals later. Shawshank was the movie that nobody caught on to until way later when it got on
It was
video.
one of those things that kind of just snuck by that no one. It had pedigree because it had Stephen King attached to it, but like for some reason it wasn't on anyone's radar.
And Anthony, what you said, it was on TV all the time. This was one of the ways this movie became like a favorite and got to be seen as like a great movie because nobody saw it in the theater. The name's a little confusing, I guess maybe the marketing wasn't the best.
I don't know. Yeah. Well, what was I love the title. But that's me. But like, I think the biggest hit, obviously, you have Zemeckis who did Back to the Future, and that's a huge franchise.
Yeah.
So like his name being on it, and he's associated with Spielberg
and Tom Hanks. You got
Tom Hanks is like everybody loves Tom Hanks. Yeah. He was a huge bona fide star.
Yeah. He had just won the Oscar, I believe, for Best Actor the year before in Philadelphia.
Right? So there was this was like a swish. It was a perfect 3-point swish into the basket, and nothing but net. For this, like everybody watched this movie, little kids, grown-ups, everybody fucking loved this movie.
It's a crowd pleaser.
So it was like the home run out of the gate. So it had the recipe for like success. There's no way that this movie wasn't at least going to be a financial success.
It made the most money out of the three. It had 13 Oscar nominations, which was the most in 28 years of the Oscars for a movie. To have 13, the others had 7 apiece. I guess we're talking about Forrest Gump now.
Oh, should we do Forrest or Shawshank?
Ruggs jumped to Forrest Gump, so
we could do Forrest.
Well, I'm just talking about which one is the most. Which one is the biggest success?
We could talk about Forrest.
So in terms of money, like it grossed $660 million. But it is.
It also, well, I'll say in terms of biggest, it can be debated with some characters in Pulp Fiction, but Forrest Gump is probably out of these 3 movies one of the most iconic characters ever,
ingrained in pop culture. Oh yeah, forever.
Anytime anyone starts running,
Run,
even to this day, run Forrest, run, right? Like that's a thing even to this day.
And the box of chocolates line is always pulled up. But it is kind of your old Hollywood big budget traditional made to please crowd movie. It's an epic, but it is also a great movie. Tom Hanks disappears in this role. This is the movie that kind of took him out of being just the comedic guy in movies to, he goes on, he does Castaway. You watch that. It's fucking amazing. He's the only guy on the screen the whole movie. He doesn't even talk for a lot of it. And he's so compelling.
He had to play this character just in like a certain way. If you would have played it one way, it would have been insulting. Yeah. And if he would have wanted too safe, it wouldn't have been good enough. So he had to try and find this character. And I think that's a pretty big challenge for an actor to really create this character.
Forrest Gump, for me, out of these 3 movies, even as I grew older, when I was a kid, I liked it because it's a simple guy, right? So it's easy to even enjoy as a kid. But when growing up and watching it, revisiting it as when you were older, this movie is the one that makes me like super emotional by the end. Where like he finds out when the first scene when he finds out he has a kid, and Jenny's like his daddy's named Forrest, or his name's Forrest like his daddy, and Forrest goes, he got a daddy named Forrest too. But he like finds out he has a kid, and he's like, is he like me? And he's not. And then Jenny dies, and he's talking in the grave. It's like, oh my god. Like the emotional journey with going through this with Forrest Gump, and Ruggs is absolutely. I was going to say that before Ruggs said it. Is that he played it like there was no middle. There you could have played it either way, but he hit it like perfect,
just
pitch perfect.
On the line. No, that moment where he asks, "Is he like me?" Like that still gets me every time.
I mean, let's see, like the broad themes of the movie, what it's trying to do. It's basically like an odyssey. Of his life, and it's actually like a dual odyssey. It's like him and Jenny's lives kind of unraveling. He's kind of like this lucky guy, I guess, or he's this guy who kind of like always ends up on the right side of everything, and then Jen's kind of like on the scraping the bottom of everything and just kind of like hitting every fucking terrible cliche you can.
Even though she's like brilliant and he's just dumb as rocks.
Yeah.
So on the one hand, you have this dumb as rocks guy just stumbling through life and meeting celebrities, and the movie kind of dismisses the counterculture of the time, the hippies that was represented by Jenny saying, these guys, they never, and it's just interesting thinking about it now, how it's like a celebration of boomer culture, everything the baby boomers went through. And
it's a little whitewashed, but
it's whitewashed American history, patriotism, but that's why it plays so well.
But as far as the positives in this movie is that you have amazing cinematography, the acting's great, it is nostalgic, it has like, the music, it has everything, it has all of those things. It has your hero is like this underdog.
Yep.
It has all of these great things going for it, and it's memorable, and it's a coming-of-age film. Like, he grows up in this movie, and you see him kind of become a man. So all of those things are great, and, he ends up becoming a rich man, and, he gets some fortune. So it is great to see something like where you think the odds are stacked against this guy, even when terrible things are happening. Like, his outlook being simple kind of like lessens the blow.
Right, absolutely.
Because, and I always apply that to my life, because I always think, okay, I'm a dumb person. Maybe I should be happier. Like,
is ignorance is bliss? Is this the argument?
But I mean, I have experience of people that I grew up with that I always thought were kind of simple, and they seem to be having great lives. Like, fine, they're doing just fine, and they're happy. So
the one critical thing I will say, I wish Forrest had a little more agency in the stuff that was happening, because everything is kind of accidental.
Yeah,
it just happens to him. He doesn't really do anything.
Somebody tells him to do something, he just does it.
He just follows along. He follows orders, and things happen.
I would say, he doesn't have like agency, but he knows right from wrong, right? So like, the scene with Lieutenant Dan. Lieutenant Dan wants to die in the war, but Forrest is like, no, like, you're alive. Yeah. I'm going to go out here and I'm going to save as many people as possible. So, like, I would argue he does have agency. It's just, for him, his agency it's very black and white. It's either right or it's wrong.
He never sees, like, Jenny's point of view, and she's, with trying to fight against the man and with all the hippies.
Well, because he thinks he's wrong.
Yeah.
Or he doesn't understand. It's not something that he doesn't concern himself with that stuff.
Yeah.
His main concern is being a good person and doing the right thing.
Yeah. So I rewatched the other two movies. I didn't get a chance to watch this one. I want to know, Anthony, have you seen it recently? Do the special effects hold up? Because they're pretty great from what I remember.
Surprisingly, pretty well, yeah.
Oh, really?
Because a lot of the effects are within like on a TV screen. Go ahead, Rick.
Oh, yeah.
That's the one thing I think is the weak point, is because that ages the movie considerably to me. I mean, not that they're bad. They're not. They're amazing for their time.
Yeah.
There's some scenes where they did some like compositing that's just amazing.
Yeah.
Putting Forrest into those scenes, Lieutenant Dan's legs, some fucking amazing shit.
That was great, yes.
But the stuff where they're fucking around with the presidents and making them talk.
It looks a little wonky.
I mean... It's cute too, like that he's in all those things anyway. I mean, so I think that's a little bit of a hokey thing that they did there. It's forgivable, but it is one of those things that when I watch it,
I feel like Forrest Gump is the one. Like, if we talk about these three, like at this time, people will probably rank it last out of the three.
Yeah,
just because it's fun to be like, like Pulp Fiction's cool, Shawshank Redemption's a great movie. Forrest Gump had everything going for it with budget and all the stuff we talked about, but Forrest Gump is still really fucking good.
Well, you can't not like this movie.
Yeah.
There's no way.
If you're putting them in order and you put this one last in the order of three great movies, that's not a bad thing.
I think that, and I kind of feel like that's where it belongs.
It's like the Olympics. You fucking beat everybody.
Right.
You get a bronze. Everybody thinks that you suck.
Right,
you're actually better than all those other assholes.
Third best is still best. Fun fact, Bill Murray, John Travolta, and Chevy Chase turned down the role of Forrest Gump. Travolta said that was a big mistake, but then he got the Pulp Fiction role that helped bring back his career.
Forrest Gump. Also, by the way, I think I mentioned earlier, but this is the one that won.
It won Best Picture as well as Best Director, Best Actor, Best Editing, Special Effects.
I'm not really mad at that.
No, I think it still holds up.
It is the most Oscar baity of all of them, though. At the same time,
right?
But it's
done. I mean, it's done almost pitch perfect.
Yeah. Well. Yeah.
If you don't get emotional by the end of that movie, there's something wrong.
Yeah. No, everyone loves fucking Forrest. Okay. Let's move on to the next one. Where do you want to go?
Let's go Shawshank.
Back to Shawshank. I was trying to start. Written and directed by Frank Darabont. And like Rugg said, based on Stephen King's short story that was called Rita Hayworth and The Shawshank Redemption. This thing's highly rated on Rotten Tomatoes, 90%, 8.18.
This is the number one, by the way. So
yeah.
Shawshank is the number one rated movie by users on IMDb.
Holy shit.
I really think it's a perfect film. In the way of filmmaking. Everything that happens in this film kind of fits the narrative. Everything that's done fits perfectly.
Yeah.
Like the period piece.
Yes.
Everything.
It is a great period prison piece that had 7 Oscar nominations. A lot of these films were up for the same nominations, and did it win any? It didn't win any. It was snubbed for Best Picture, Best Actor for Morgan Freeman, Adapted Screenplay, Cinematography, all the other ones. It is the most depressing out of the 3, but I do agree. Anthony, you said earlier, I think this one has the most, the best message.
Well, I would argue it is depressing, but the overall theme is hope.
It is. It's hope and love and friendship.
Right. So I think that's why I would consider it the most rewatchable because the ending is so hopeful. I mean, it's hope in like one of the darkest places you can have. And I watched a video essay and I agreed with it in that like prison before this and even like after has been built up this is like hyper masculine place with like the hardest of hard people. Yep. And yet this movie kind of subverts that and has like just normal guys that just happen to do a really bad thing, but they're just normal dudes living their life in a really fucking dreary place.
I mean, so many great layers of things happening in this movie. Like the period piece is great. They nail the look of it, the slice of life in prison. One of the things I always come away with this movie is like you don't realize these lifers, when they spend 20, 30, 40 years, they really don't want to leave prison because they don't know the world outside. It has changed. It's scary. And you want to talk about crying at Forrest Gump? This is what you would call a fucking guy cry movie.
Oh, shit.
Right here. Because in the middle, when Brooks fucking leaves and hangs himself, that gets me every time. And then the very end, after the escape and when Red finally gets out and makes it and meets fucking Andy Dufresne on the beach, like you can't help but break down. Like there's so many great emotional beats in this.
Yeah, I mean, I'll agree. The stuff with Brooks in the supermarket, and he just can't keep up bagging the stuff. It just is super depressing. You're just like, oh my god,
the world has changed out here, fellas.
Well, Morgan Freeman's talking about institutionalized. Go ahead, Ruggs.
When he tells the crow to fly away, I got choked up.
Yeah,
he's like, I can't care for you anymore. After when he was about to get let out of prison. And I was like, oh, that's the fucking little bird that he fucking fed with the little worm that he found in his food. And shit. And now he's got and then he was writing that letter. He's like, I hope that sometimes I wish that the bird would come visit me. Yeah. And it's just really sad. It's really sad. But that is, Stephen King, his like Stand By Me has the same kind of narration. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And in most movies, narration is dog shit. But when you use it correctly and you use it to the best of like how the writer of the book intended,
and you got Morgan fucking Freeman narrating,
right? Then it can be magical because like some books are meant to be narrated, right? Some of them have like that strong voice, and if you're gonna adapt a book and you delete that strong voice, then you're doing something wrong. And I think that it was very smart for Darabont to keep that narrative voice throughout the film, and whoever made Stand By Me made that same choice, and I think that film is strong because of that. So you really feel like these prisoners are speaking in such poetic, like beautiful, like things that they're saying, and these profound things that are being said that are actually Stephen King
get busy dying
writing this. Yeah,
it's great.
It's great.
Yeah, it's so good.
You know what's really good about this movie, and every time I watch it, I'm just reminded, is especially when I'm thinking about these other two movies, have more iconic leads. But every time I watch Tim Robbins as Andy Dufresne, he's so unassuming.
He's so good.
But the guy is so fucking smart.
I mean,
it's written so well.
He's brave. He's smart. He's loyal.
Yeah, he's brave in his own way. Yeah,
yes.
Exactly. He's loyal.
He's thoughtful. He gets the beers for the guys. If you compare, it's kind of fun to compare Forrest versus Andy Dufresne in terms of your lead protagonist. Yes, Forrest has staying power. He is iconic, but Tim Robbins is he doesn't put on an accent. He, like you said, he's unassuming, nails this role. You can root for both of these characters, and you do throughout the whole movie. But to me, I think Dufresne comes out on top because of the reveal of the jailbreak, which is another thing this movie does great. It's a great jailbreak movie. That's hard to do. That whole sequence is
it's a great twist ending.
Thrilling,
almost.
yes. I want to ask you guys, would you crawl through 500 yards of shit for freedom after digging a hole for 19 years?
I wouldn't make it.
I wouldn't make it.
I would break down.
I would puke everything out. Yes.
I would not even being the puke and the shit, it'd be the claustrophobia trying to get through and not knowing when you're coming out.
That scene where they're shooting him and he's like crawling through and he throws up.
Yes.
And you're just like, exactly, the claustrophobia, and then you're in shit.
Yes. And just the
yards.
smell, like imagine the foul stench that he's like, this is.
Hey man, he was getting raped at the ass for like years. Yeah. And then now he was getting ground down by the warden. That was
the fucking warden was so.
They took
good.
away. They killed his friend.
Yeah.
They took away his fucking freedom. He was the only fucking innocent guy in that prison.
Yeah.
What a beautiful story, and it tugs at. I mean, like, look, are they using? Is Stephen King using writing tools and conventions? Yeah, but he's using them brilliantly.
Yeah,
and he's positioning all these pieces on a chessboard. And at the end, it's just the finale is beautiful.
They get away with it. They get to live their life. The warden was so good and evil. I fucking hated that guy so much.
Oh, that warden when he's like to him, I'll cast you down with the sodomites. You'll feel like you've been fucked by a train.
Oh
my god,
what a piece of shit.
Rug Boy brought up a great point. It's like Stephen King and then Frank Darabont and the writers really were playing chess the whole time because they set these pieces up and you don't realize till the end. How brilliantly he's schemed this movie to like make the escape feel like, oh my god, he's had this plan since the beginning. This is brilliant.
Yeah, for 19 years. That is another great thing. I love seeing him change in the prison and become kind of the mentor, and everybody loved him, and he's helping people out.
The library,
the library
dedicated to Brooks,
and then the switch of the shoes and the warden's book at the end, and him throwing the rock through the Rita Hayworth poster, and then. When he gets out in the rain and he just has his arms up and it's a down shot. Fuck.
Oh shit!
Rebaptized as a free man.
Wow!
Yeah.
Wow! What you breathe the relief? You're like, fuck yes for this guy. Good for him. And then you have to see Red kind of go through missing him. How much he
remember they kill the fat guy in the begining of the movie?
Oh, yeah.
It's brutal.
Yeah.
The fish.
Yes.
Fresh fish.
Yeah.
Fresh fish.
Fuck.
And they just beat the guy to death.
Yeah.
It is a perfectly done movie. It really is. So
I mean, it does paint cops as evil and like these guys as the protagonists. I don't know. Were you mentioning something like that? This is some of the criticism the film got
at the time. That people weren't ready for a film where the prisoners are the good guys.
Yeah, but it's about friendship in tough times.
The only thing that I wish I would have known that was the big mystery is what did Red do?
Yeah, you don't find out. I think they might. I think they might have.
Oh.
I think he mentions it later. I forget. I'd have to rewatch it.
I just watched it. I was looking for that. I couldn't. Maybe I missed it too. But I've seen it so many times, and I've never figured out what he did.
Everyone's innocent there.
Yes, don't you know? Everybody's innocent when they come in here.
What you in for? Didn't do it.
So good. All right. Well, then that takes us to Pulp Fiction.
The coolest movie.
The tour de force, the event, the movie that was just so artistic and unique and visionary and different that announced that these independent directors are here and they had a good run for a while.
Harvey Weinstein.
Oh, shit. He did help promote this. So Pulp Fiction made for $8 million, made $213 million worldwide.
Oh, shit.
Making it like a bigger hit than everything, if you talk about that profit.
I think $5 million was just to pay the actors.
Probably. So written with Quentin Tarantino, with Roger Avery, directed by Quentin Tarantino, comes up with 7 nominations. Best Picture, of course, Best Actor for Travolta, Best Supporting Actor for Sam Jackson, Best Director, Supporting Actress for Uma, and Original Screenplay, and only 1 Best Original Screenplay. But This is a movie I'm surprised that the Oscars even dignified with an award. It had been winning all the festivals up to now, so I guess they couldn't ignore it, because this is like the polar opposite of Forrest Gump. Something you didn't think that they would recognize, a gritty crime film.
Well, this is an ode to the exploitation film.
Yeah, yeah.
This was like Quentin Tarantino basically calls out a bunch of exploitation films and Fellini films and like all French films, like just really like avant-garde or like off the beaten path or just like cult things and really niche-y things that maybe the Oscars don't really like to fuck with. So it was never meant to be even near the Oscars.
No. So, Anthony, I did listen to your review of Pulp Fiction.
Oh, thank you.
And I get where you were coming from. You said you did like it, but didn't completely blow you away. And the reason is you have to understand 1994. At the time this was coming out, Quentin was up and coming director. He had gotten a lot of buzz from True Romance. He got a lot of buzz from Reservoir Dogs in the 2 years coming. We had never seen a bunch of things that this movie does. The fact that it was quirky, mundane dialogue, and it was just cool, the pattern, the rhythms of the dialogue, and that Quentin would focus on dialogue over the action.
We see a little bit of this in Iron Man 1.
Yes, you see this in a lot of movies, influential since then. John Travolta at the time, when he was in this, you're like, wait a minute, the fucking guy from Staying Alive who dances disco? You mean the dude from Welcome Back, Kotter? He had not done anything, had no career. For Quentin to put him in, make him so cool, and even be so meta as to have him do the twist with Uma Thurman to kind of like comment on the fact that he's the fucking Staying Alive guy. Fucking brilliant. Huge movie for Sam Jackson. Changes him forever. Super quotable. And then the biggest
English, motherfucker, do you speak it?
Do you speak it? What ain't no country I ever heard of? And then the biggest thing, when you see this now all the time, this non-linear storyline where the first time you saw it, you were like, wait a minute, what the fuck is going on? When did this happen? What order is this? And then the way the end of the movie is in the middle and it ends kind of with the second half of the beginning. Oh, fucking so well set up and assembled and written. And then you got.
I'm not going to debate you. I think it's a really good film too. This is a praising of these three movies. So I'm not going to debate you. I think the dialogue is really good in terms of, especially they're talking about stuff. What makes it really good is they're talking about stuff that like. Maybe not me and you, Imran, because I'm not your friend. But maybe, like other friends that I would have, maybe we would talk about these things while we're driving a car or like going to hang out or meeting someone up. But they're talking about these things in the midst of like about to commit some sort of crime.
About some violent crimes. Yeah, I mean, great. You know, the scene about Amsterdam and what they call a burger there. You dig it the most. That's fucking iconic. $5 milkshake, everything.
I've had conversations with my buddies where it's like, is that kind of like, would that be like cheating, you know, where they're talking about the massages, the foot massages. Yeah. You know, I've had similar conversations where it's like, is that considered cheating? Would you beat that guy's ass if he did that? Like, those are things that anyone would like talk about.
He's like, not the way I give a foot massage. Like, you think he threw him out for a foot massage?
That's one of the things that I love about this film is that it doesn't, like, in most movies, the dialogue is simply to drive the plot, right?
Yes.
So you have exposition. Yep. You find out blah, blah, blah. But you find out about these characters not because they're having a conversation that seems to be organic. Yeah. I mean, is it a natural conversation? No, obviously this is like a dream that Quentin Tarantino, this is what he wants to talk about. This is what he wants. This is the dialogue that he wants to show. And it tells you a little bit about the characters without actually telling you anything about them. And you kind of feel like you know Vincent Vega after this movie. You feel like you know Jules after this movie. You feel like you know Marcellus Wallace a little bit.
And Butch and Marcellus, absolutely. Same thing he does in Reservoir Dogs with the opening montage of them talking about Madonna movies, and she sucks so many dick. How many dicks is that?
A lot.
A lot. And then the Bruce Willis scene, the Christopher Walken monologue with the watch up his ass. Oh, my God. Some of the best fucking shit.
That's so funny because I didn't know
where it was
that
going.
Was in there. I know I didn't know that was in there, nor where it was going. So I was just like, what is he talking? Oh my God, this is fucking hilarious. and then the fact that he ties that in, and this is why he has to go back and get this fucking watch.
This guy,
it's been up his dad and Christopher Walken's ass for years or months or whatever the time period was.
That whole, I remember watching that whole, the tracking shot through the field, through the fence. It was the most tense shit when he's back in his house and you think he's okay.
Vincent Vega takes a shit at least 3 times in this movie, and every time he takes a shit, something bad happens.
He's like, even in the cafe, he's like, I'm gonna take a shit. I'll be right back.
You know,
I mean, the movie's just so quirky. Like they're Butch is fighting with Marcellus.
Yeah.
They end up in a thrift shop.
Yeah.
It ends up being these like gay Southern
rednecks.
rapists.
Yeah, it's just a front for redneck rapists
with like one guy in a gimp suit,
Bring
and
out
they have
the
to like
gimp.
tie him up. It's just I've seen like similar stuff, but even to this day, I'm like, that's a very strange fucking movie.
I mean, like, but everything is so calculated. Like when Bruce Willis escapes, right, and he goes and he picks up the hammer, like it's calling back to like Friday the 13th,
Yeah.
and then he picks up he picks up the baseball bat. That's to fight Walking Tall. He picks up the
chainsaw, right? At one
the
point,
chainsaw. That's the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah.
And then finally, his favorite thing, your samurai things, Toshiro Mifune. So he gets the fucking samurai fucking sword.
Bruce Willis with a fucking samurai sword.
So just in that one scene, he takes you through all the things he loves.
And we got to mention the fucking soundtrack. I wore this shit
Oh,
out.
yeah.
Another great job of, James Gunn picks great B-sides, but Quentin was doing it way before, unlike the Forrest Gump soundtrack that had kind of like mainstream hits throughout the decades. These are like obscure B-sides of songs from artists that he loved and then I loved. And
look, you love Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
James Gunn, how you learn about James Gunn, what he likes through his music.
Yep.
That's Tarantino was doing that. There wouldn't be that in Guardians of the Galaxy if there wasn't this. Like where he curates this fucking soundtrack out of all of these different things that he loves and they all mean different things.
And they fit the scenes great also.
Right. I mean, he had different songs. I think he had My Sharona for the butt rape scene.
Oh, yeah.
And he couldn't get that because Reality Bites was using
Oh,
that.
that's right. That came out that year too. That's right.
Yeah. So, but like all of his choices are deliberate.
I mean, that Dick Dale song was huge because of that.
Well, what I've noticed is what he's really good at is he takes things he loves, right? He takes like this nonlinear storytelling, which for the time is very revolutionary. He takes like all these different plot elements that are like, well, I don't know about that. He puts like a scene where it's like in an old school restaurant. So he's taking like old school movies and just putting it as a restaurant.
Yeah.
So he takes all these things and it's like, these all probably wouldn't fit together, yet he makes it work.
I mean, the opening diner scene where they're just talking about, nobody robs restaurants.
That's genius right off the bat. They're like, they start off the movie and he goes, impossible, can't do it.
Yeah.
So right off the bat, you're like, what are they talking about? Well, I want to see what is going to be impossible. What do we like right away? That hook, even though like that's just a part of a conversation, immediately you're like, I want to see them try to this impossible thing.
To 18-year-old the nerd, when I saw this, I wanted to write crime movies like this. With this, like me and my buddies were like, let's just fucking write script ideas and make shit like this.
I just remember being in the theater and I turned to whoever I was with and I was like, they're fucking quoting the Bible in this movie.
Twice. And it's an amazing scene.
And it's the whole entire impetus for this character. Yeah. By the end of the movie, he becomes the shepherd. Yeah. Okay. Like it's just fucking mind boggling. Like I just hit the fucking microphone.
That's going to bruise later.
It's just mind boggling how like it's everything, and nothing at the same time. It's like Seinfeld.
Yeah.
Like, it's a show about nothing. Yeah. It's really, this movie is about nothing, but there's so much, it's so rich with things. It's packed with shit.
That's a good point. I like that. I like that.
What really happens in this movie?
Nothing, really.
Nothing. I mean, okay, let's do it in chronological order. Vincent Vega and Jules go to get a briefcase.
Right, they got to bring a briefcase to Marcellus.
The deal goes sour. Yeah. They kill a couple guys. Yeah. They by accident kill a guy in the car.
That shit is hilarious.
All right,
Marvin.
Have to take a detour to get the car clean, and then they show up. They show up at Marcellus' strip club over there at the same time that Bruce Willis is now getting the payoff to take the fall for the fight, which he doesn't.
Doesn't throw the fight.
And then that same night, Vincent Vega takes Uma Thurman out.
Yes, they go to Jackrabbit Slims.
She ODs. He's got to get her.
That's fucking great.
To fucking not die.
That. Yes.
Then the next day, he rolls up with Marcellus Wallace. They don't talk about what happened last night. And then they go to Bruce Willis's place to stake it out to make sure if he comes back that they could kick his ass because he fucking soured on the deal. Yeah. And then he goes out to get donuts. And Bruce Willis ends up
Bruce Willis just happens to catch him while crossing the street with donuts.
Bruce Willis has the highest body count in the movie.
He kills all those dudes in the store.
And the last shot of the movie is Bruce Willis and his French girlfriend taking off on the bike.
Well, that's the last shot of the story.
You guys forgot to mention
the diner.
Yeah, the diner, but also
that's before
a little reference. So the movie's super crazy. Like all this stuff is crazy, but it's like it's real, right?
Yeah.
It happens.
Yeah.
Yet in this briefcase is this like glowing orb that's like from Indiana Jones, which is just like no one ever talks about what's really in the briefcase, and it doesn't seem like it's from like another universe. The way they react.
It doesn't matter, but I remember having long debates.
That's
about
his commentary on MacGuffin.
What did you think was in there?
It doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah.
It's just like it's just the MacGuffin, like, and it's not even central to the plot.
Yeah,
of MacGuffin.
Yeah, it's crazy. No. Anthony, what did you think that was? I remember debating this for hours every night.
So you want to know what I thought it was? Like Rug Boy said, it didn't matter to the story, so I didn't even care about it.
Right.
I just looked at it. I was like, oh, there's something in the briefcase that glows, and I didn't even think about it the rest of the movie
until it comes up later.
It doesn't matter.
No.
He doesn't give a fuck. The movie doesn't rest on what's in the.
It's the MacGuffin set to drive these characters to do things. I always thought,
but it doesn't really. Does what is in the box even matter?
I thought it was like gold.
Okay, so let's play this out. Yeah. Let's say they don't have this briefcase.
Yeah.
The same shit happens.
Yeah, but then
it's completely irrelevant to the rest of the movie. Let's say they go to Brett, and Brett doesn't have the suitcase. Fucking Jules still has to cap everyone's ass.
Yeah, because they get shot at.
He's still gonna get shot at, and then the miracle's gonna happen. Yeah. That's gonna fucking change the whole course. So that MacGuffin is completely irrelevant.
Don't you fucking Jimmy me, Jules?
That is actually like genius, because in every movie the MacGuffin is so relevant because it drives the plot.
It doesn't matter.
And in this movie it doesn't. Yeah. So it defies all these conventions.
Yes, it does.
And that's the genius of it. And I'm trying to figure out, like, he must have not even known he was doing this. Like, it must be like something that just divinely came to him and Roger Avery when they wrote the script, because it's just crazy.
It's just the thing. It doesn't matter what's in it.
That they did this on purpose and they thought about it that much. Yeah. It's crazy to me.
I think this film, like Pulp Fiction, like Forrest Gump, is a crowd pleaser as well. It's just a different crowd entirely.
Pulp Fiction is the as I've mentioned a few times, is like the epitome of a cool movie.
Yeah.
Like anybody who's a like cinephile or like anyone that's into movies brings up Pulp Fiction, right?
Yeah.
Like if you don't like Pulp Fiction, then like, oh, what do you know about movies? You don't know shit. Like you're a fucking dweeb.
Well, a lot of people get hung up on Quentin Tarantino's dialogue and how he uses a lot of racial epithets and this and that, whatever, to his characters. But these are all shitty people.
Absolutely.
They're not supposed to be good people. Like, they're all terrible people. They're not going to be thinking about what's politically correct or what's whatever.
The fact that these two are up against each other is also fascinating, because both movies, Pulp Fiction and Forrest Gump.
Well, three.
But these two in particular, they both kind of use pop culture as kind of a frame of reference in different ways.
Yeah.
But you have here your classic like studio versus indie battle, mainstream versus niche, cute versus cult, like a big spectacle versus something stripped down. And I think now I feel like Pulp Fiction endures better if you put those two up together. It's still influential. It's still hailed as influential.
I mean, I think that...
Are people still talking about Forrest Gump, though? I guess
depends on it depends on what setting you're putting this in.
Right.
Yeah.
If you're sitting down with your family of generations, you can't put Pulp Fiction on unless you have the coolest family that ever lived, right? Like, unless your parents are really cool, you could put Shawshank on.
Yeah.
But I think the safest bet that everyone will come out with with a good experience is going to be Forrest Gump. So that is the most, I would say, universal mass market appeal movie. And it's going to be more timeless in a lot of ways. I think that Pulp Fiction already is showing its age in certain ways, as I said, with the language.
But it influenced so many people. It changed the landscape of movies for a while and what you could do.
I would disagree with that. I would disagree with part of that statement, Imran. Okay. Not about Pulp Fiction, but the one you said earlier, where I think Pulp Fiction's endured more.
Yeah.
I think Pulp Fiction has changed the game more, and has a more renowned director, more things you could quote. But taking myself as an example, as a kid, up until maybe 20-something years old, I didn't know Pulp Fiction existed.
Yeah.
Forrest Gump, I knew existed as a kid. I've always known Forrest Gump. And you have Drake in 5 years ago quoting Forrest Gump. Run, Forrest, go, Forrest.
He did.
It's still something that people talk about.
Yeah.
Like Forrest Gump.
But I think Pulp Fiction is still something people talk about.
They both talk. But I'm saying it's not that clear cut.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of like one of those things that just in the field of cinema, it's more important. I don't think it's in the field of pop culture as important.
That's a good point.
All right, so in terms of the film industry, in terms of nostalgia for things that were cult, and kind of looking into places that people don't usually look, I think that Quentin Tarantino has done a lot to bring a lot of things to light, like a lot of movies, his love for things actually makes the world a richer place, because you look at things that you wouldn't have seen before and whatever. And it's kind of crazy because he does it with all of this horrible language and saying these horrible things, but he also raises a lot of these people up, interest in all these things. So I think in the terms of art, I think he's more important.
Yeah, it's more artistic,
than Forrest Gump. I think Forrest Gump is more of an icon in pop culture.
I think it does matter how old you are when you watch these movies, because in Pulp Fiction, you have Quentin Tarantino playing to not only his own adolescence, but the viewer's adolescence. It's almost kind of like that movie that that you get away with watching, and watching the movie, it's like you're watching him get away with all this crazy shit, like as a teenager movie director, which and it was his second movie. So.
What's interesting to me is that Forrest Gump is probably the bigger pop culture phenomenon, right?
Yeah.
In terms of everyone remembers it. Cinephiles and importance, Pulp Fiction is probably the more remembered one.
Yeah.
But, and maybe I'm giving away my hand here. Shawshank Redemption might be the best movie, yet I don't think it's as remembered in pop culture.
Well, it's because it didn't have as big of a splash,
right?
And it didn't really initially go. What's one of those things that people have discovered on TV, right? So that's where it's kind of taken root, and people have seen it over and over. You say it's on TV all the time. Yeah. It's probably on fucking the TBS or whatever, TNT all the time, or USA. It's probably on that in the weekend.
Yep.
So it did find its audience, and it is a great film, and great films will be recognized. I mean, it is a great film. So I think that despite the odds, so Quentin Tarantino he had the industry behind him. All right. Zemeckis had himself behind him in Hollywood, the machine behind him, he was part of the machine. He was one of the big heavy hitters. He had, the big trilogy that came out that was fucking
mainstream
Roger
Hollywood.
Rabbit,
Yeah.
So he had all of this kind of top of the line blue chip, royalty going in. And Shawshank was kind of Frank Darabont was a respectable filmmaker, I guess, but and Stephen King, which gave it some kind of clout, but ultimately not well received, didn't make a lot of money, but it just ended up Frank Darabont and Stephen King, they just had something.
I think the name is part of the reason why it didn't make a lot of money. Nobody saw it. But I think the testament to this movie is the fact that afterwards people discovered it.
I just remember someone said, "Did you see Shawshank?"
Yeah.
And I go, "It's a prison movie. Why would I watch that?" They go, "It's a Stephen King movie."
You're like, "Oh."
And I said, oh, is there a fucking ghost in it? Right. Who? And he's like, no, it's like Stand By Me. And I was like, oh, I love Stand By Me. He's like, it's Stand By Me in prison. And I was sold. And I went to go see it, and that's what it was. It was Stand By Me in prison.
And the movie is known by one word now. Like, all you have to say is Shawshank. You don't have to say the rest of it. Everybody knows what you're talking about.
Get busy living or get busy dying.
Stand By Me is a great friendship film, right?
Yeah.
It's a great film
so
about
is this Shawshank. Yeah.
growing up and then and figuring out and having to like also never see these people again. Yeah. And the same thing happens in Shawshank. He finds his family and then he never sees them again. He goes and he moves on. He transcends it. So it's crazy, and it has that narration, and it's got all the same elements. And both of those movies I hold them in high regard as very well made films that they do invoke emotion from me. And so all three of these movies are like I could never like. It's hard to choose like one I like more than the other. I just think that some of them. Like, what do you say about a movie that's perfectly done?
Yeah.
Like, what can you say about a movie that is still remembered and still has a lot of cachet to this day?
Still holds up.
Yeah. So,
well, let's get to it.
Kind of do that.
I want to know. You are now on the board of the Oscars. It's 1995. We are voting.
Well, I think for you two, I think it would be important if it's any different.
Yeah.
How you felt about it then, how you would have ranked it then, and how you rank it now. If you could put yourself in that mindset of 18 to 19-year-old, because as people that I'm assuming watched movies, that's amazing that these three movies came out and are considered three of the greatest movies of all time in 1 year.
The thing is when I saw Pulp Fiction, I saw it in a New York theater.
Yep. Me too.
I was with a bunch of film students. And like that whole theater was packed with people who knew their shit, and it was a standing ovation. It was people hooting and hollering, and there was electricity in the air when I saw Pulp Fiction. I saw Shawshank on like a 19-inch fucking CRT monitor in someone's dorm.
Remember
room.
those? Remember the tube TVs
on VHS?
I had Pulp Fiction posters.
It was a very different. Very different feeling.
I don't remember following the Oscars because I was in college and I was getting high all the time. So it wasn't.
Well, I don't think the Oscars have. I think the Oscars just brought these together, but I think these are just three great films that I'm like, oh my god, these came out in the same year.
Yeah, they are amazing, and I loved Pulp Fiction then. Rewatching it now, I still really love this movie. It means a lot for me, but then. Rewatching Shawshank, like that movie, Shawshank probably packs the most weight, has the best message, and there's really nothing wrong with it. And then Forrest is a fun time, and I can see why they would give it to Forrest because of its pedigree, its crowd-pleasing aspect. But I'm torn because on purely artistic merit, if you are giving a movie the Best Picture award on the fact that it's pushing boundaries, that it's artistic, that it's a visionary, clearly goes to Pulp Fiction. But I can also argue Shawshank has such an amazing story and amazing characters and has a lot of those same themes that that could also win. I think both of those movies probably should have got it over Forrest Gump anyways.
Okay.
Wow.
What's your ranking?
Fuck. I'm going to go.
You don't have to give them out of 10. Just rank them 1, 2, 3.
It's close between Pulp Fiction and Shawshank, but I'm keeping Pulp Fiction 1, Shawshank 2, and then Forrest Gump 3. In terms of like the quiz show, I don't really remember quiz show. Nobody talks about that yet.
I mean, it's good, but it's just not as memorable.
Yeah, it's not as memorable. I will put it in that order: Pulp Fiction, Shawshank, Forrest Gump.
You want to go next, or should I? Or Ruggs, you want to go?
I mean, you want? I'll go.
No, you know what? You close it. You're cooler. So I've been doing a lot of thinking about all these like best picture things, and I just have to say that picking the best movie every year when there's like greats around, it's an impossible task.
Be hard. It's gotta be hard.
You the way you just talked about, you're like the best picture if you rank it by like artistic value and like how much it's changed the game and like how it's pushed the boundaries. But like, what's to say why is that the best reason? Best picture. What about the most entertaining? What about the most emotional? What about the best story? So like, there's no real way. Like, it's so subjective when you get to like this level of film.
Yeah.
But for me, I like to base my best picture rankings on how entertained and how emotional I felt about the film.
Yeah.
So in that sense, for me, Shawshank is number one.
Okay, yeah.
It's just.
I can see that.
I think it's one of the best movies of all time.
I mean, I can't argue that. Yeah.
Number 2 is Forrest Gump.
Oh, fuck off. Forrest
Gump for me because of the amount of emotion I feel towards the end of that film with, the scene with his kid and then him talking to Jenny as she's has AIDS and she's in the grave.
I mean, it's crafted to make you cry there, yeah.
It's crafted to make you cry, but I don't think, because it had all that build up and everything, it's kind of hated on. It's like it's crafted as it. This is the way they made it. They set you up. They did it, but they did it so well.
Yeah,
you have such a great performance with Tom Hanks in that role that it just transcends everything. And then for me, 3 is Pulp Fiction. But not to say that I'm not entertained.
Yeah.
And I recognize the grace. I'm just not as emotionally moved as the other 2 films.
All right. I like that. Okay, Ruggs.
I think that you think about a lot of different things when you're doing this, and I mean, all of these movies, of all the movies, the one that seems the most conventional, meaning that, if you have a great director and a great script and great actors, then you're doing that, that would be Shawshank.
Oh, you think Shawshank is the most conventional? Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
It is because it's
shit. I thought you were going to say Forrest Gump.
Shawshank is an adaptation of Stephen King's already good book.
Oh, sure. Okay.
Okay. So the heavy lifting was already done by Stephen King.
Good point.
Yeah.
All right. Now, all you had to do is get the right actors to make the performance and to get the right director to kind of just guide you through that and put the pieces in the right order that we're going, and, not the fucking, he didn't blow it. There's so many directors that want to make a movie that where you, like The Sixth Sense, where you fucking at the end, you're like, holy shit. Oh, the twist, and you don't see it coming. I mean, you can after you've seen it. You could see the signs, but when I first saw it, I didn't see it, and it caught me by surprise. Could I have caught it now that I'm I've been watching movies for a long time and a cinephile or whatever? I don't know what the hell that word means, but anyway,
a movie lover.
I feel like I touch young kids while I watch the movie.
That's not
anyway,
this is going great.
So I mean, I think that's the most conventional. I feel like they had something to work with there, which was a great book.
Yeah.
Forrest Gump, I don't know if it was a book beforehand or whatever, but I think that there was a more Herculean task of recreating the past and putting him in all these situations and having all of these things that it could have not worked. Tom Hanks could have fucking played it wrong, and this whole movie would have been off the rails.
Yeah.
So I think the challenge is a little bit worse, and a little bit harder, and they rose to the occasion.
I mean, if you don't have Hanks in that role, this movie doesn't work. I don't know anybody else who could do it.
So I'm going to put Shawshank at I don't know. I don't know what order. But then Pulp Fiction. All right, Pulp Fiction basically comes along, and it's a challenge.
Yeah.
For the person who watches it. All right, it's forcing the person to watch a movie in a way that they're not comfortable with.
Yeah.
It forces dialogues and mundane conversation about bullshit that you may not want to hear. You're like, I want to be entertained, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Why are we talking about fucking hamburgers and fucking can I taste your Sprite and Kahuna
They
Burger?
got the metric system. They don't know what a quarter pounder is.
Why are we talking about fucking shit like this? Or how am I supposed to piece this together? What is this? Yesterday? Is this today?
Yeah. When did this happen?
So it's, and then you got where you take the MacGuffin and you make it meaningless, and you invoke some kind of bullshit, like biblical bullshit in there. So it's like all of this stuff's in there, and it's challenging to the viewer, and it's also it's the director kind of spilling his soul out as you're watching it, and you're getting to know this director, in all these choices that he's making. He's, as I said, that dance scene, that's from a Fellini film, all right? Yeah. There's things that he's taking that he's kind of doing homages to and all of that stuff. So I feel like that's special too. And that shouldn't have worked. That should not have even been near the Oscars. But it made the biggest leap, I feel like, that Pulp Fiction had the biggest mountain to climb. All right, it had no money.
Yeah.
It fucking had like washed up actors in it that no one knew.
The rebirth of John Travolta, but you had a lot of buzz on Quentin.
It created Samuel L. Jackson.
Yep.
All right, gave birth to this fucking dude who's been a powerhouse for years.
Yelling Jackson.
Fucking movie. Yeah.
So where are you ranking? What's your 1, 2, 3?
I'm gonna say that because Pulp Fiction did all those things, that I'm gonna give it the edge. It's a really nose to nose. Like,
yes.
So I'm gonna go Pulp Fiction, Forrest Gump, and Shawshank. Even though
you got Forrest at 2. Holy shit!
And the only reason is because Shawshank it is a perfect film, and that's fucking hard to do.
Yeah.
But it's a lot easier when you have a great story to build on, and they had that to adapt, which is a Stephen King written thing. And Stephen King is a master. And the only reason why I know this is because they already did it with Stand By Me. They took one of his stories and made Stand By Me, and that was a great film. So I know that if they roll the dice with a good director on King, you're gonna fucking hit. So, yeah, that's how I do it.
Wow. That's a shocking lineup. Anthony, I have to mention the lessons that 18-year-old Imran learned from Pulp Fiction. There's several important lessons in this movie.
Did you start snorting heroin?
Well, first one was that shows you how to...
Don't snort it.
Shows you how to shoot heroin is the first thing, right?
Oh, shit.
And kind of glamorizes it, which is crazy. And then the second thing is that you learn that you do not snort the same amount of heroin that you do when you're snorting cocaine. Very dangerous. Those are two different things. You just want a little bit of the heroin for the lot of cocaine. And then the third thing, if you do that, you just need an adrenaline shot straight to your heart, get you right the fuck out of it. Always have that ready. So this was like a fucking educational film for me as well, Pulp Fiction. How to fucking...
I just have to say, I'm pleasantly surprised by Rug Boy's rank. I'm pleasantly surprised by the conversation, although I knew it was going to be good. I'm surprised by Rug Boy's rankings, but it all makes sense.
It does make sense.
I think if the listener enjoys this, I can pick another year where maybe 2 or 3 great movies came out that were Oscar or even not even Oscar nominated, and we can do the same thing later on.
I like that.
Yeah, that could be fun.
Yeah, I think there's lots of years in the 90s where this happens.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's a roll of the dice. Like, any of these films should be great.
Yeah,
right.
They're great. Yeah. They could be my number one tomorrow. Like, I love Shawshank. It's hard for me to put it at the bottom, but I'm like, but they had this book to go through.
Yeah.
They had the successful author that they were using.
And I can't think of a bad Stephen King movie that's been adapted, right?
Well, I'm sure that there is. There's always one that gets fucked up. But like, but for the most part, they're all, because they work from good source material. You have at least that could prop up a lot. I mean, that's the heavy lifting's in the script, right?
Yeah. No, and like you said, walking in, this is adapted off a Stephen King book, so you know what level of quality, you know what you're getting into.
I mean, I'm thinking of like It, Misery, Stand By Me,
all solid
Shawshank
films.
Redemption, all like adapted from his work.
Shining,
all, like,
even though The Shining changes,
Carrie, Pet Sematary, Shining.
Yeah.
Come on,
he cues it up for you.
Yeah, he does. Like, he's pretty much just giving it to you. Just don't fuck it up. Is when you get to it. No, I love this. I love this discussion. That was a lot of fun. Anthony, listener, let us know if you have other years, but I think the 90s, man, I could talk about 90s movies all the time.
I'm just so happy that I grew up in that time.
Yeah, me too.
Not only for movies, but for music too. Like, there's so much innovation going on. There's so much fucking just upsetting the system and like doing new shit.
Dude, the early 90s for me was the best hip hop I ever heard. Fucking grunge music was amazing. And then these auteur crazy film directors making these crazy movies that you'd never seen, all happening at the same time, Anthony. It was a fucking dream time.
I mean, look, we have a lot. What happened then is now part of like Taika Waititi.
Yeah.
It's all part of like all these new directors and like James Gunn and all these guys. They've all been educated the same way. They're all our age.
Yeah.
They probably were fucking shooting huge ropes in the theater when they saw fucking these things that we saw. Taika is my age, I guess, or around my age, and James Gunn's maybe a little bit older. So I could totally see that he was at that age. He might have been in film school or at the age where that might have rocked his world and actually warped his perspective. So, and you know, and maybe it's part of the DNA of what we love now.
I mean, I also think Pulp Fiction had the most copycats immediately after. Remember all the movies that kind of came out in the later 90s that were kind of like Pulp Fiction? They were trying to do Pulp Fiction.
Killing Zoe.
Yeah, Killing Zoe. They were left and right. Everybody was jumping on this thing after.
Things to do in Denver when you're dead.
Yep.
Oh, there's so many.
Well, I will say, a lot of the movies I've been watching are in the 2010s to 2000s.
Yeah.
There's some pretty good directors around right now as well that I probably were influenced by a lot of these guys.
Absolutely.
So, you got like Paul Thomas Anderson, Wes Anderson, Noah Baumbach, Bong Joon-ho, Taika Waititi, Ryan Coogler.
Yeah.
There's a lot of really good Iñárritu, Alfonso Cuarón. These are all like really good directors.
I feel like, the studio movies got big. That went away, but I don't think it ever went away completely. And there's always, I kind of wish that like some of it would come back maybe, but the way things are now.
The studio movies?
No, the auteur crazy independent movies.
They're there.
I mean, they're still there. They're still there. Yeah. They're just, I feel like that.
Pulp Fiction took over the zeitgeist of the fucking country. It was amazing.
I feel like, I'm going to try to explain this to Anthony, is like what happens is like, so Pulp Fiction comes out, and of course there were always auteur directors, but that all of a sudden put a spotlight going.
Right.
Oh, look at this cool motherfucker doing crazy shit, and then all of these people started watching those movies, and it actually created a environment that could foster these guys. So There Will Be Blood was made because like there was this renewed. Like people would give those movies a chance that they would never give them the chance before. You would literally have to go to an art house somewhere in the city and it would be a limited release.
Yeah.
Like people started releasing them more wide and you could see them. They became more available. And also the whole thing about the video stores and the DVD thing, like they would promote them more and it became more available. I think that it was a harder road to hoe back then.
Sure, definitely.
So, yeah.
I would say, Imran, just for what it's worth, what Pulp Fiction and all those auteur directors did is like now, with all the Oscar stuff, all that gets nominated. It's much more rare to see a big budget studio film get nominated for a Best Picture.
And that's a good point.
Right
now,
it's auteur independent films or big studios funding like these smaller independent things.
And then it's funny because I'm like hypocritical because we're all like, oh, Black Panther got a nomination. We should be more Marvel movies getting Best Picture nominations, which is kind of the opposite of what I just said I wanted. I don't know what I want.
It's actually, you don't see a ton of big studios get nominations for Best Picture. Big
well, I think that the way studios make movies now is a lot different than they made them a few years. I think that movie making has become very like risk averse. All right. Especially when you're spending, because you're spending shitloads of money on, and that's one of the things. It's like they're spending like upwards of $200 million plus now on a movie, whereas a movie used to cost maybe $30 million at the most. And that's a huge multiplier right there. How are you gonna fucking get your money back? So they're not taking risks anymore. They're trying to double down on stuff that they know is gonna sell. And these independent films are done with like shoestring budgets, and they're usually the better film, right? You're watching these movies like Moonlight. You know, they actually they engage you. They make you think about life, and you don't really need a budget to do that a lot of the time. I mean, it'd be cool if we could kind of maybe bring the budgets down and bring the quality up and let them take some risks now.
Well, it'd be nice. Talking about these three directors now, I love the fact that out of all of them, Quentin Tarantino got into the mainstream and continued to do whatever the fuck he wanted and stayed relevant and never wavered. He's got 9 movies. He says he wants to retire with a 10th. It'd be nice to see him do more, but the fact that he just still, the whole time, he's just done what he's wanted. Made the movie that he wants to make, and it's been put out and been commercially successful.
I'd like to see him do more as well, but I mean, there are things that he's done that are great. So, I mean, Kubrick has a few great films. He's got a few great, Tarantino's got a few great films, and, you know, we got guys that are making movies now that have a few, so it's, you know. I'd rather have quality over quantity.
It's all good.
I have a lot on this topic, but this isn't the time.
All right, we're going to move on to some news from the nation real quick.
It's time for news from the nation.
It's time for news from the nation. Emptied out. So speaking of, we were talking about challenging movies. I found this graphic that I stole from somebody else's Facebook page, shared it to the nation. It's called 99 Mindfuck Movies.
Oh, shit.
Got a lot of great responses from the nation. I think I wanted to share this with all the listeners because if you're looking, these are kind of movies that I love. I love mindfuck movies. And if you want a list of movies of maybe stuff you haven't seen, everybody seemed to love this list. They were counting how many they've seen. I think I've seen 45 out of all the movies. But
I've seen a lot of these.
Anthony, what do you think of this mindfuck list of movies?
I think it's awesome. I looked at it and I shared it with a couple friends. I haven't seen that many. I've probably seen around 10 to 12 of these.
Yeah.
Because mindfuck movies aren't necessarily my go-to, but this is a good list to reference for sure.
I mean, there was a time in my life that I was just into mindfuck movies. I would watch one after another. And yeah, I mean, everything from Memento to 12 Monkeys to,
I think in my
here.
older age, I stay away from mindfuck films. When I was younger, I could stomach them a little bit more, but like sometimes I'm like, I'm not in the mood to be down. I don't want to see fucking a Requiem for a Dream ever again. You know, like I don't want to see that movie again.
There's just some of these movies where they're dead. You're just like, whoa, what happened? What did I just watch? I fucking love the challenging aspect.
But The Prestige, that's a great fucking movie.
Yeah, Memento's great.
Everybody should watch.
It's got great time travel movies like Primer. A lot of these, I'm like, oh shit, that was great. So
Midsommar is a relatively new one.
That's a new one. I heard that's very good. That one I haven't seen. I got Get Out on here.
I've been posting about the movies I watch, and one of my friends texted me and goes, "You have to watch Midsommar. It is fucking insane."
So I heard that one is insane, and Mother by Darren Aronofsky, apparently also a crazy movie.
I have not seen that yet. I'm gonna watch it.
We might have to get
Have
it.
you seen Midsommar, Ruggs?
No, that doesn't interest
Anthony,
me.
have you seen on this list A Clockwork Orange, a fucking classic right there?
Oh, I saw that when I was a kid.
That movie
Is that the one where the eyes are like wide open? Yeah, I haven't seen that.
You got to watch that. I mean, if you're
That's
going to be
Kubrick?
that's Stanley Kubrick,
Yeah,
you're going to be a cinephile.
That'll fuck you
this,
up.
along with One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, is a great set companion.
Oh, let me just run down this list.
Yeah.
Let me just call out some ones that are. So definitely The Prestige.
Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. I fucking love that movie.
You could skip a lot of these. Rosemary's Baby is good. Moon is good. That's David Bowie's son. Did that movie. That's an interesting fucking movie. Pi, obviously. I'm never gonna watch Requiem for a Dream again. Ex Machina's a good movie.
I mean, you got The Matrix. You got
Vertigo's good. Usual Suspects. That's a great one. Sixth Sense.
Well, look, for the listener...
you don't need to watch Happiness.
No?
Don't watch it. No, it's about a pedophile, and I don't need to watch that.
Oh, jeez.
What else? Truman Show's good. Fight Club's good. Seven, Inception, Vanilla Sky, all of those are great.
You're going to go through the whole list? I'll tell the listener the graphic
I'm just
is
looking.
in the show
I'm
notes.
just looking.
Definitely.
For what it's worth, one of my friends texted me about my movie watching. He says, "Don't watch 2001: A Space Odyssey if you're high. You will feel really weird.
You're gonna
afterwards."
lose your shit. That's a great trippy movie. That's a.
Oh my god, that movie takes forever.
It's really long,
but it's great.
Speaking of long movies, we're gonna move on because I have a comment. I want a reaction from Anthony here. Joe Henry, our lovely listener and patron, he gives us $10 a month, and he's done so for more in the year. So he gets to pick a second movie, and I asked him, "What's your second pick, Joe?" And he kind of crowdsourced the answer from the Facebook group, and we have a winner. Joe Henry says, "I decided to go with Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. It's a great..."
Is that the first one?
It's the first one. It's a great film.
Oh, yeah, that's the roughest one
It's
to get.
pretty nerdy, and I'm looking forward to making the jock watch a film he normally wouldn't watch and hearing his take on it. Plus, Return of the King won Best Picture, so he has to watch the other two first. So, Anthony, let me...
Wait, which one is the first one?
The Fellowship
of the Ring. Anthony, this movie... in its regular version, 3 hours and 28 minutes long.
Oh, fuck.
They also suggested in the thread that we should watch the extended cut, which adds another 30 minutes.
Oh, shit.
It's a 4-hour movie.
Well, I would rather watch it as it
was intended?
originally came out.
Okay.
Not because it's any longer. At this point, if you're doing 3 hours or 3.5, what's the big fucking difference?
Well, you're watching it and you can take a piss break whenever you want.
Yeah, you're not going to miss much.
Just think of it as watch an hour, every few,
Lord of the Rings is not my thing, but And I'm glad he picked Lord of the Rings because all these other movies that were on his list I've seen other than Princess Bride.
Okay. Oh, you haven't seen Princess Bride?
Fifth Element is. I saw that as a kid and I liked it.
So his top 6 were Fifth Element, Princess Bride, Shawshank Redemption, which we just talked about, Watchmen, which we've done, and V for Vendetta. It's a good one. Princess Bride is great. You got to watch that. I've seen this first Lord of the Ring movie exactly once, I think.
Oh, I seen it like maybe 3
So
times.
this will be interesting to revisit. That'll be coming up on our Patreon movie reviews.
When the fucking box set came out, we would watch it like on Thanksgiving or something. Like after dinner, we'd like throw it on, or like when we were trying to kill time. At any point in time, we'd throw one of them on.
So I'm going to say something that might really get listeners upset here, because if you didn't like my take on Kingsman: The Secret Service, I don't know how this one's going to play out.
Oh, shit.
You don't like Lord of the Rings.
I'm going to give it another chance. I've only seen this movie once.
You're not going to like it again. If you didn't like it the first time, you're not going to like it.
I love the battles in all the movies. I don't remember anything else from the fucking movies.
Look, I mean,
we're going to lose all of our fans right here because of this. Because they all.
It's brilliant and it's brilliant and crazy, but you have to understand that, like, it's like the first one is cringy on purpose.
Yeah. Okay.
Because, you have to understand, like, Peter Jackson setting up this, like, perfect little, like, farmland that's, like, so happy and glowy. And then he's going to take you now to the depths of hell where, like, just fucking grim and fucking everybody's trying to kill you every 2 seconds. Yeah. So it's like he does that, but, like, it just, all right, we get it. Like, we can move on now. But you sit there for a while,
Long build. Look, it may be another unpopular opinion. Just like
you could edit this, you could edit the Lord of the Rings down to, like, instead of it every movie being 4 hours, like every movie could be like, 2 hours on the nose.
No, give me that
and
cut.
It would still be great.
Give me that cut. Also, another unpopular opinion. I liked Harry Potter the first time I saw it when it was called the X-Men.
Oh, shit.
Those are the 2 franchises I tend to piss people off about.
I don't like Harry Potter either.
I've seen one Harry Potter film. I think I saw the 6th one.
Yeah.
At the movie theater, so not a great choice to watch. The first Harry Potter you're watching is the 6th one, and I absolutely
what's going on?
hated it.
I don't know. Look,
I don't know what people saw in it. I'm like, you really think that this is the best version of this story? Like, no, there's a million other fucking stories that are way better than this.
We've seen this. God, somebody's going to pick that on the Patreon and force us to watch that. Don't stop talking about it.
Please don't.
Let's finish with some what are we watching, Anthony, outside of the movies. Anything caught your interest this week?
I mean, The Last Dance. Yeah, that's what I've been watching. Good. I've been watching UFC. They had 3. They're going to have, by the time this episode is put out, they'll have done 3 events in 7 days in Jacksonville, Florida.
What, in the same place with nobody there?
With nobody there in the same exact venue.
Wow.
So those are the things I'm watching besides movies. As far as movies, I mean, I have to admit, I'm starting to, like, get a little fatigued.
You might need to take a break.
On, like, watching a movie every night. Yeah. And, like, these are most of the movies I've been watching, I have to be, like, emotionally or, like, really invested just to, like, pay attention to make sure I'm, like, getting the full experience. Yeah. So it is a little bit of fatigue, so might cool it down, but if I don't, then I'm going to definitely watch Gravity, Room, Her. Like, these are the next couple movies I have on my list.
Yeah, that's like late 2000s.
I've been sticking around in the 2010s.
Still 2010s.
I've really been enjoying modern movies.
Ruggs, I took your advice. We were talking about the Clone Wars earlier, and I just watched the 4-part season 7 finale on Disney Plus, and holy shit, Geek Boner, that shit was fucking amazing.
I wouldn't steer you wrong.
Ahsoka Tano is badass. There are scenes where she's doing the Jedi land, and there's explosions behind her, and I'm fucking cheering. And I don't even know what's going on, but they set it up as a nice 4-part finale. What else did you think about that finale, Ruggs?
Well, basically what's going on is that Ahsoka Tano, she left the Jedi Order, all right? She got framed for something, and she just said, fuck this, and she left. And then she just so happened to be in the right place at the right time, and so where Darth Maul was kind of like taking over this Mandalorian.
Yeah, so it's kind of actually really cool. Maul was amazing. He is in charge of Mandalore. And then we just talked about Katie Sackhoff playing Bo-Katan. I got to meet her and how close Bo-Katan and Ahsoka Tano and how great they are together. And also that ties in, doesn't it tie into the dark saber that we get at the end of the Mandalorian?
Bo-Katan ends up getting the dark saber. And basically the Mandalorians, they abandoned like their warlike ways to be part of the Republic, but there's a whole bunch of Mandalorians that still want to keep the old ways, and Bo-Katan's part of that, and Sabine is part of that, and she's one of the rebels. I think that's this Bo-Katan's sister.
She may be on the show too, on Mandalorian.
So, and basically all that happens is that Ahsoka goes along this mission with these clones that she basically, through the whole Clone Wars saga, those were her group, like the people that she fought alongside. Yeah. So she was like, I'm going to go on one last mission with you guys.
Yeah.
And to try and get Maul. And that's what the 4 episodes
were. Dude, it was better than Rise of Skywalker. It may be better than the whole fucking sequel trilogy.
It was, I mean, look, it's a simple story. It's just Order 66, right? Remember, if you guys remember when you watched the prequels, Order 66 is when the Emperor turns all the clones against the Jedi, and the Jedis all get taken down.
This moment is so fascinating in Star Wars canon. I love seeing different perspectives of when Order 66 happens, because in the video game, Jedi Fallen Order, so they do that in the show, and I was thinking about what the character was a kid. In the video game, there's a flashback, and you're with him when Order 66 happens, and all of a sudden, all these stormtroopers that he was buddy with saying, hey, and they were like, hey, they just fucking pull their guns on him. And his mentor, who is, I think from Rebels, he goes, fucking run, and you have to run. And everyone's, all of a sudden, your friends are now trying to kill you. It's so fascinating.
The Kaminoans who made the clones.
They put that chip in their head.
They put a chip in their brain, so at any time, the Emperor could make them do whatever they want.
So then that dude Rex on Clone Wars, I also heard, because I think he's gonna also be played by Tamura Morrison on The Mandalorian. Like,
yeah, he could be Boba Fett, and because they're all
clones.
him.
Yes, they're all clones of the one person.
So I started watching Upload.
Oh, what'd you think of Upload?
It's fun.
Cute.
I'm watching it. It's not like the greatest thing I've ever seen, but it's fun. You know, it's like it's a little like a comedy-ish thing.
It's cute. You know? It goes by quickly. It passes the time.
Yeah, it's a cute little, you know, I'm not, it's, the girl's attractive.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes.
That's always helps.
That always helps.
Am I going to see her boobs or
his,
not?
The girl who's his customer rep, she's gorgeous. She's beautiful. And she's really good on the show. And Robbie Amell he's not bad. I mean, he's Robbie Amell.
Well, they play into who he is. Like, he's like some douche, you know, who's always has. Yeah. He's kind of like Ferris Bueller. Like, he just kind of like this good-looking kid that gets laid all the time. That dies.
I watched on Netflix. There was a few weeks ago. There's that movie Code 8 with Stephen Amell and Robbie Amell, and it's about.
Did you watch it?
I did. So the setup was interesting, and then I don't remember the rest of the fucking movie at all.
That means it was bad.
It was not. It was not good.
I've been wanting to watch a bunch of movies. I just haven't been able to actually make it happen.
Don't worry about Code 8. The concept of
I'm watching them all for you. Don't worry.
Yeah, Anthony will watch and let you know. All right. That's good stuff for people to catch up on. We need more Apple Podcast reviews, guys. We're up to 120. What now?
Wow.
Trying to get to 200. So if you have an iOS device and you're in the US, that would be the double. That's the best. But if you don't, leave us a review, a rating anyways. And Jess Rivera mentioned this, and I put it in here. Thanks, Jess, for saying that if you don't have an iPhone, you can also rate and review on Apple Podcasts using iTunes on a Windows computer.
Oh, shit.
There's still some of those out there. Download the app, so you don't need to have just Apple. Just got to be in the U.S. And when we get to 200, maybe they'll let my dumb Kingsman-hating ass to be a movie reviewer. This is probably what's going to kibosh
I
the
would
whole
just
thing.
do it just so you can have that review up on the Kingsman.
Yes, I definitely need to get my thoughts on Kingsman into Rotten Tomatoes. I'm bringing that score down, fuckers.
Well, it was a 90, and now it's down to an 89.
89 and a half. We're going to fuck up the Rotten Tomatoes tomato meter. All right, well, that's good. Ruggs, where can the listener find you online?
You can find me on Twitter at ReallyRugBoy. Come by and see me.
Check out the show notes, jockandnerd.com/328. That's where I'll have all the shit we talked about, like that list of 99 mindfucker movies. You'll find that there. Links to subscribe, support, get in touch, share the show, subscribe so you never miss a show. And thanks for listening to the Jock and Nerd podcast. My name is Imran.
My name's Anthony.
He's the Jock.
He's the nerd.
We'll peep you next time.
It's fucking awesome.
Yeah, that's really good.
My dick is cold.
My balls was hot.
That's opposite.
I fucking loved it.
Jock and Nerd.
My ass is cold.